Anxiety is difficult to understand and to explain because everyone experiences it differently. It is much more than just worrying. It's the body's fight or flight reaction in overdrive. Have you ever leaned just a little too far back in your chair and caught yourself before falling over? For that split second, you feel a white-hot sense of urgency and panic. Anxiety can feel like that, but lasts for minutes or even hours and comes on with no warning. Often people with anxiety will avoid situations that might be even the slightest bit overwhelming, like going to class or buying groceries. Avoidance can lead to falling behind, feeling disconnected from the world, and ultimately, depression. This is Eleanor's battle with anxiety.
I dealt with a lot of bullying. Throughout elementary school, I was a big target for bullies.
Why are you such a lady?
When I got into high school, things just went downhill from there. I started experiencing severe depression and anxiety. I had trouble in school, I had trouble with relationships, and it took its toll on me. My name is Eleanor. Until about 12 years old, I kind of dressed like a boy. I liked guys' clothing a lot better. It was more comfy and I felt more comfortable in it. And that just made me a huge target for bullying because they said, oh, you're not like all of the other girls who are wearing lip balm now and stuff like that. It was brutal because I would spend lunches sitting alone at the corner of the school just by myself doing nothing, and I felt, this is just so terrible. I have nobody here. I made a few friends, and I brought them all together into one group. They turned around and told me, sorry, but we don't think you fit in with our group anymore, and we don't want you to hang out with us anymore. And that was heartbreaking for me. All those times that I was rejected as a kid have stuck with me throughout my adulthood. Those are the things that stick with you. As a child, you may be able to brush things off and pretend like everything's okay, but these things carry into your adolescence. Then they get worse in adolescence usually because hormones and all that. I had all these insecurities going into high school. I was feeling worthless, I was feeling hopeless, I was feeling tired. My grades slipped. They started going down. I lost interest in school. I lost interest in people. I lost interest in all the sports I was doing, all that. I just couldn't do them anymore because I couldn't get out of bed.
How are you feeling?
Whenever my parents would ask me what was wrong, I would say, oh, I'm just tired. The problem with depression and anxiety is that they perpetuate each other. When I'm depressed, I become anxious if I have to do anything.
How's school?
How was your test?
What'd you get?
I don't remember.
You don't remember? Did you just write it yesterday? Eleanor, what is going on with you? You don't talk to us anymore. You don't tell us what you got in class.
Anxiety is more than just feeling stressed or feeling nervous about something. It's literally a physical reaction. I can't move when I'm having an anxiety attack. I can't move, I can't speak. The last time I had an anxiety attack, I was with one of my best friends. I had to be quiet. I had to have my space. I couldn't have him touch me. I couldn't have him come near me. Sometimes I will rock, I will shake, I will scream, I will yell during an anxiety attack because it is so brutal. It's this constant worrying inside of my head. It goes and goes, making me feel like I'm gonna explode on the inside. It's this intense fear that typically is irrational. To me, there's no cause for my fear. Sadness goes with depression, fear goes with anxiety. What people don't realize about anxiety, I find, is that they think, oh, it's just, oh, I can't go into the room because I'm nervous about talking to people. It's literally like, I will cry, I will hit people, I will do anything not to go into that room because this fear is so crippling that I will do anything not to do the thing that I'm supposed to do right now. It's excruciating, it really is. One time when I had a bout of anxiety, it lasted for a week. It was so brutal, but the thing was, it wasn't even in my head, it was in my body. This state of constant anxiety. You feel it, this knot in your chest. You can't breathe properly. You feel sick to your stomach. And that's how it was for about a week. And I couldn't get out of it. It was terrible. I had to take certain medications to get me through it because I was crying, I was bawling because I felt so uncomfortable. But I come to terms with the fact that they can happen without me understanding why. And the reason I'm able to come to terms with that is because I have positive coping tools now. I do things such as, I'll take deep breaths. I had a fight with my parents the other day, and it just triggered everything.
I've gotten calls from your science teacher, your math teacher, your English teacher. All your grades are going downhill. Now what are you doing? I've told you time and time again, you need to get this fixed, okay? Because I'm not...
I need to go. I can't do this right now. I'm sorry.
But what I did was I took myself away from everything. I sat in my room, I took some deep breaths. I calmed myself down. But what I do, I focus on one thing, focus on that one thing, put all my energy into focusing on that one thing and breathe through it. And eventually, I'm able to let it go. But I have to sit there until it's gone. Other things I do is I will put on music. I have a favorite playlist that I love to sing to. I love singing. It's my escape. It's a release for me. My relationship with my parents was very strained when I was a teenager. They were scared for me. The way they present their fear, I receive it as anger. I feel like they're yelling at me for things. So I would get angry at them for being angry at me for having problems.
Get out of my way!
No, you
Mom,
tell
I need to
me.
go now. Move out of my way.
Get back here! I'm not finished talking to you.
But they didn't know about the drugs, about most of what I was going through. They didn't know about it because I hid it from them because I was so disappointed in myself for feeling the way that I felt that I didn't want to disappoint the people that meant the most to me. And that happened one day because I was arrested for possession of marijuana, and they had to pick me up from jail. And that was the most embarrassing moment in my life. You know, the cops didn't scare me. None of that scared me, but what scared me was my parents. Because I knew I just disappointed the people that loved and believed in me the most. And I felt like I was a huge failure to them.
What are you thinking?
You got to stop this crap.
I can't believe I had to go down to the police station to get my daughter out of jail.
The best thing they ever did for me and for them was educate themselves. They educated themselves on depression and anxiety and figured out, why do people with these things do what they do? They're able to step into my shoes and go, this is what it feels like to be you. So that opened the lines of communication between us. I started to become less angry at them. And as I started to fix my own problems, I became less of an angry, angsty teenager and more of a mature adult. And I was able to communicate with them in meaningful ways. So the more we communicate, the better it is. And the more they treat me like an adult and understand where I'm coming from, things have just gotten better over the years. I always say to parents, you gotta have empathy for your kids, but the kids gotta have empathy for their parents as well. They gotta realize that their parents are human beings and that they're going through things and that they care about you just as much, probably even more than you care about yourself. And just to give your parents a break sometimes is a huge thing to do. Just understand that they're human, they have feelings, they have emotions, they may make mistakes sometimes too, and understanding that. In grade 11, I was ready to drop out of school. I was so done with everything, I couldn't handle it. What they did was they put me into an alternative education program within the school. And I found one of my longest standing friends there, which was my teacher. I still see her to this day. I see her every couple of months. We go out for lunch and everything and we catch up because she was such a huge influence on me in my life at that time. What she did was she was a teacher, she was a mentor, she was a friend, she was a mom, she was a therapist all at once. Because I would walk into that classroom with a sullen look on my face, just a look of just terribleness. And she would come up to me and say, let's go talk in my office, which was actually just the hallway, but we would go talk in the hallway and she'd say, what's wrong? Tell me now. And so I'd tell her and she'd be like, okay, so what are you gonna do about it? And I'd tell her what I think I'm gonna do about it. I'm like, okay, well, it's up to you. You gotta think about it, this is your decision, but you have to do what's right for you. She would always remind me of something along those lines. She didn't put the answers in my head. She let me come up with them myself. And so the more I came up with them myself, the more I learned about myself and the more I understood what I was going through. But she was always there as a support when I needed it. And that was what I really needed, was I needed someone other than my parents to be a support to me. I didn't have the friends that could support me. She was that person for me. She got me through high school. And what she did was she encouraged the things I was interested in. She would see like a little glimmer of interest in something that I would do and say, hey, you should pursue that. And eventually we came to the conclusion that I was ready for university at the end of high school and that psychology was probably the best route for me. So I started going to university for psychology and I took my first class and I went, wow, this is a lot different. This is way more up my alley. This is a lot more interesting. And so that interest just grew and I was able to put myself on a positive pathway. As I grew up, I started to have much more acceptance for everyone around me. I don't see anything as a reflection of myself anymore. I see people's actions as a reflection of what's going on in their own lives. And that's helped me come to terms with being bullied as well, because I see bullies as people who are just going through some serious issues themselves that we don't see as the bullied. So having that empathy, being able to put myself in other people's shoes, truly changes the way I think about people. All I want in life is to feel happiness and motivation of some sort on a regular basis, because that's what I lacked for so long. And that motivation to help others and feel great about it is amazing. And that's what's encouraged me to follow the path that I am following today. So I went to psychology. I started learning about these things in more depth. I started learning the theory behind it. It's always been a hobby to analyze people for me. I've always been curious about why people do what they do, and psychology helped me with that. It also gave me some training to getting the job that I have today. I'm a residential support worker at a group home with youth with brain-based disabilities, which is phenomenal because I get to help these kids throughout everyday activities.
It's sad to think that lots of teenagers do get diagnosed with depression and anxiety because it is a serious problem that a lot of us do face.
It's a huge issue for a lot of my friends and stuff, where people actually cannot get out of bed in the morning to come to school. It really builds up inside of you.
Being anxious all the time makes you feel worthless. You can feel it coming and you can feel it building up, and you can't stop it from coming out. And a lot of people choose to ignore it or to make fun of you behind your back, and it's a bad feeling because sometimes you just can't control it.
When I get really anxious, I end up with muscle spasms, and I can't really control it, and I need to I really need to focus on my breathing in order to make it. So I definitely related to her when she said that.
Yeah, some people think it's so easy to get over anxiety and depression, but it's really not. It's kind of a domino effect, because if you say you don't feel anxious for a while, but then you start feeling anxious again, that makes you even more anxious because you can feel the anxiety coming.
What makes me get really down is obviously school and schoolwork. I talk to my friends a lot about it, not really my parents. All these expectations are on us. What do we want to be when we grow up? What do we want to study? What if we study something that doesn't give us a good job? What if we don't have a good job in the future? How are we supposed to support ourselves?
For me, one of the stresses in my life is that I don't know what I want to do with the rest of my life. And it's the biggest question. Teachers ask you that, students ask you that, everyone's asking, what are you going to do with your life? And it's a big stress for me. Everybody's going to figure out what they want to do with the rest of their life at age 14, 15, and I think that's a lot to put on to young teenagers.
I see depression and anxiety all around me at high school. I think a big part of it is social media and getting all that information all at once, falling into the trap of comparing yourself with other people. And you realize, oh, I don't look like that, or my life isn't doesn't look that great. Should my life be like that? And when it's not, you feel worthless. It keeps hitting your self-esteem, and then you can't really build it back up.
We look at each other and we say, oh my God, am I missing out on something? Am I not a part of this circle? You're not invited to your friend's house and they're all posting it on their social media, and you feel really alone, a lot more alone than you would in a world where you didn't have any of this communication, right?
With the internet, I think that world issues are kind of very much in our face. Everything that's happening in your life stresses you out, and then you see all the horrible things that are happening in the world. And it's a lot to take, and I think it causes a lot of anxiety and pressure on kids our age.
Take a slow, deep breath. How many times have you heard someone tell you that when you're really stressed out? You may not want to hear it, but it's wise advice and a great coping tool that Eleanor uses to manage her emotions. Let me tell you why it works so well. When the brain enters a strong emotional state, like depression or anxiety, the parts that are designed to help you think logically, balance your emotions, and stop hurtful behaviors all start to shut down. Also, your body starts to create more stress hormones that course throughout the entire body. This can speed up your heart rate, make your stomach feel like it's twisted in knots, and even cause you to have a headache. Practicing slow, deep, and focused breathing helps by acting like a car brake for your overwhelmed brain, body, and nervous system. Slow, deep breathing tells your brain and body that whatever is going on can be dealt with in a better and healthier way. It also helps your brain's logical thinking centers turn back on and slows down the parts of your brain that produce intense emotions. This leads to less stress in your brain and body. The more you practice this tool, the stronger you will be at handling your emotions and stress response. Think of it like a muscle. If you only exercise once a month, you're not going to have as much strength to use compared to exercising 3 times a week. So let's try it together. Go ahead. Take a deep breath in, then out, slowly and deeply. Breathe in and out. Great. Try doing 5 to 10 minutes of deep breathing once or twice a day. Trust me, it really does work. This is one of the best tools, and managing your stress depends on it. With that in mind, until the next time, let's do better by thinking better.
Eleanor is not alone. Depression and anxiety affect a record number of teens. Situational mood disorders can be caused by trauma, poor diet, social media telling you how you should be living, and even the constant bombardment of information in a technological age. Clinical depression and anxiety are caused by a chemical imbalancement of the brain. See, some people think that anxiety is the leftover fight or flight response that we used to use to hunt and escape from predators. Regardless of the cause, it is an incredible burden for people to bear and can be especially frustrating when people don't understand. Just don't worry or just be happy aren't going to help. Eleanor's journey has led her into the field of psychology, where she will be able to help others in similar circumstances. If you suspect you suffer from depression and or anxiety, seek help. It's not always easy to talk to a parent, but schools offer confidential counseling. Know that there is treatment for chemical imbalances. Focus, breathe, seek help.